Hello everybody, this is Woolrig, and we are on episode 25 of Infinity Evolved Normal Mode. So, I'm just over here at the Blood Altar, filling up some empty sockets. I am creating these because these are actually used to make the Bloodcraft armor, or the Blood Magic armor, excuse me. The problem is that I need a lot of them. I need one for every... you use them to craft them in the same pattern that you would with any material. So in order to make a full set of armor, I'm going to need, I believe it's 24 of these. So I've got, 7 right now. And the other downside is that they take, if we go and look for sockets, they take 30,000 LP to fill up. My altar holds 34,000 LP, so it's not bad, but I can't just turn this guy on and let it loose because it needs to basically have time to recharge. So what I need is a way to tell when this altar has 30,000 LP in it, and then I can put an empty socket in and let it fill up. And then pull it out when it's done and let the altar recharge. So I need something that I can program and put some intelligence into. Fortunately, we're playing modded Minecraft. So let's see what we have to do exactly that. Oh yeah, had to make some more stairs because the Endermen have been busy tearing apart my house again. But what was I going to make? All right. Steve's Factory Manager. This is a machine that I've kind of purposefully stayed away from. Some people think that it's a bit cheaty. I'm not one of them. I enjoy using it, but I like to give myself a bit of a challenge in seeing if I can avoid using it for as long as possible. If you're not familiar with it, you'll see why in a minute that people think it's cheaty. Basically, the way Steve's Factory Manager works is it's inventory management. And so we put down the block. You always need to start with a machine inventory manager. This is the block. You right-click on it and you get this screen. This is essentially a programming interface. Here's all your different commands. And you can see there's a lot of them. The basic order of operations here is that we start with a trigger. The trigger runs by default every second, but I can come in here and tell it, however long I want. And I can, do some other things. So redstone, block updates, delayed trigger. I can, use some variations. Most of the stuff I do is just going to be default timer of 1 second. Then you create an input and you create an output. And just to make this a little bit easier to understand, let's go ahead and replace this chest with an iron one. Because what we're going to do is, let's go ahead and let's get something in here. Sure, why not? Abyssal stone. That sounds fun. So I'm going to put 32 abyssal stone in there, in the iron chest. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come into my input, and I'm going to say that the input is my iron chest. The target is if the inventory is side specific, or if it's eye sided, you can tell it which side to pull and push from, but chests we really don't care, so down is good enough. And then we're going to leave an empty blacklist, which is everything. But if I wanted to, I could come in here and say abyssal stone and a whitelist. So it will only try to pull out abyssal stone. Kind of getting ahead of myself a little bit here. So let's go ahead and add, say we've got that. So abyssal stone and cobblestone. If we set our input to only grab the abyssal stone, then you guessed it, it will only grab the abyssal stone. Next, we tie our input to our output, and you see this little exclamation point because no inventory has been selected. So we want that to be the regular chest. And this is why I made them different. The other way is that if you notice they have their X, Y, and Z coordinates. So if you kind of stand over it and look at your coordinates here under the map, you can see your X, Y, and Z coordinates. And so you can figure it out from there. So it's negative 1413, negative 1411. So that's the other way to do it if you've got a bunch of chests. So that's our output. And this one we will whitelist again. We'll say the Abyssal Stone. So this is going to grab all of the Abyssal Stone out of the iron chest and place it into the regular chest. But notice it doesn't grab any of the cobblestone. That's because our input filter has that filtered out. Pretty simple. I mean, it just ties these inventories together and allows you to move items between them. We can get a little bit more complicated with this. If I right-click on this guy, I can come down here and specify an amount and say, maybe I only want to keep 11 in there. Why not? So now, if I put Abyssal Stone in here, what you should see is it dropped down to 21 because this one stored 11. And now if I come over here and add cobblestone to the input and cobblestone to the output, but I only want one. You may have already moved them all. It did. This is where you'll get people who say it's cheaty because it moves a lot of items very quickly. But as you can see, the difficulty is in the programming. So this is a really, really basic setup. This is really pretty simple, and going to end up wanting to do much more complex things. A thing to note: once you break it, it loses its programming. So, yeah, that's a thing. I think there is. I thought there was a way to copy it. I know there's a mod where you can copy the instructions out before you break it, but there really is no way to export this. There's no way to save. There's no way to save the commands that you've built in here. So it's not like you can just go online and download somebody else's config and run it. You have to program it by hand yourself every time. So, I think that's fair. I really do. So what are we going to do with this? Well, I think we're going to want probably a couple of cables. So there's a bunch of different blocks in here. The basic one I want to start off with is the inventory cable. So let's go ahead and make a couple of these. That's probably good enough to start. And what the inventory cable does is it just allows you to connect more inventories. So I can, say for example, I can put this guy down here on the end, and if I grab one of these inputs and look for my targets, or for my inventories, it shows up all the way down there at the end, and it tells us that it's 3 blocks away. 3 blocks, 3 cables. So 1, 2, 3. Yep, perfect. So the cables, the inventory cables, are just a way of basically extending the function of the inventory manager. So, with all that said, what am I going to do with this guy? Well, for now, I think I'm just going to place that there. And go ahead and break this, because we're not going to use these anymore. We are going to use Steve's Factory Manager. And it's not very pretty, but it gets the job done. So with this, what we can do is, if we look at our inventories, we see we have a blood altar contains life essence. That's right. This guy can actually see the liquid in the blood altar. So there's a... I've never programmed the blood altar with this before, so I may need to break away for a minute and kind of look through my options here. So I can create liquids, I can create RF outputs. Where's the... Oh wait, no, it is an input. Never mind. Okay, so one of the things I'm going to do is, say for example, I need to keep my blood altar or my blood orb in the altar at all times. So what I can do is create an input and an output and a trigger. And I'm going to say, from this inventory, grab the orb, magician's orb, nope, master orb, and we can actually come in here and, because I think, nope, it's not NBT, is it? They're not all the same, are they? No, they're all different numbers. Okay, I thought maybe they were all the same number, but just metadata or NBT data, but they're not. So we're going to grab our master blood orb and we are going to place it into the altar. On the upside, sure. And we'll just leave it blank for the output. And so what that should do... Oh, well, I do need to program the output, sorry. Want to grab the master blood orb. Go. Why are you not liking me, Mr. Man? Does it not like the upside of that? It should go in there. Okay, give me a second. Okay, I forgot one thing. So, I was on the right track earlier. I just wasn't thinking. So the Master Blood Orb, if you notice, it has information on it that is specific to me. That is stored in the item's NBT data. So what that means is that I need to be NBT independent. There we go. So that's going to grab that and take it out. Just like that. And that way, I have a method now of recharging my soul network, which is almost full. But say I want to do something a little more interesting. Say I want to put in these empty sockets when this guy is at 30,000. So what do we need to do? Well, it sounds like we might need to get ourselves a conditional statement. Hey, you know what? We've got those. Let's create a conditional. So the condition we're going to look for is, on this guy, we are going to look for life essence, and we're going to look for a specific amount, which is 30,000, which happens to be 30 buckets. And when we have that, so this is our true side, true and false. So when we have that, we are going to reach into our chest and we're going to pull out, let's go ahead and delete this guy. We're going to pull out an empty socket, a specific amount. We're going to pull out exactly one because we don't want to try and put out more than one. And we are going to put that into our blood altar. Like so. And if we watch, we should have make sure I did my conditional right. I screw this up sometimes. Requires all, if any. Nope. What am I doing wrong? Requires all, specify amount, 30,000 in this guy. Yeah, you can see where this is a bit tricky. So we're going to do that whitelisted, that empty blacklist into there. Does it not like those? Nope. Alright, more figuring out to do, I guess. Be right back. There we go. Remember how I was saying that there's a conditional for liquids? Yeah, that's what I needed to use. So let me walk you through this. As you can see, I've got two different channels going here. Two different triggers firing two different methods, basically. The first one, running every second, takes an input, and this is the input that we set up before. So it's just looking into the chest, and it's set to grab one empty socket. Then it checks the tank on the blood altar, and it looks for 30 buckets. There's our 30 buckets. Then we need to check and make sure that we don't already have something in the blood altar, because this I could take all 13 of these that are left and just throw them in here, but that would need 30,000 times 13 total amount of life essence to actually work. So we don't want to do that. So I check the inventory, I check the blood altar to see if there's one in here already, or any amount really. If there's already one in there, then we don't do anything. If there's not, then we go ahead and output to the blood altar. That's pretty simple. The next line is just really, it's a very simple one also, that it's checking the blood altar and it's looking for items. It's looking for filled sockets. So if it sees a filled socket, it grabs it out of here and puts it back in the chest. It really doesn't get any easier than that. And like that, I have a system that will wait till there's 30,000 LP in the altar and put in a socket. And when it's filled, it'll pull it back out. So that's pretty slick. What else can we do with Steve's Factory Manager? Well, we can do lots of things. So let's make another inventory manager. Need a piston and a redstone block. So one of the things that I need to do is automate the production of these guys. These pure crystals and Fluix crystals. And I'm going to use Steve's Factory Manager to do that. I'm going to do it for a specific reason that it is the easier thing to do. It's one of the easiest ways to do this. There's a bunch of different ways that you can automate the crystal production process. Steve's Factory Manager ends up being really one of the easier ways. And the main reason is because we need a way to turn on this redstone signal until we don't need it anymore, and then turn it off. Because as we saw, this guy's drawing 70 RF a tick. That is not something I can keep up with long term, especially if it's not doing anything. So let's go ahead and let's see. We've got our inventory manager. let's look again at Steve's Factory Manager and see the rest of these cables. So one of them here is our redstone emitter. Takes an inventory cable and some redstone. That's pretty easy. The other one is an item valve. So we need a couple of hoppers, a dropper. Let's go ahead and make another hopper and a dropper, right? Yep. And what this is going to do is this is going to allow us to basically drop items into the water. And then we can also use it to monitor and pick up the items when it's done. So I need something, I need a prop block. Like that. And like that. Except that's not how I want it to face. I want it to face down. So I'm probably going to need to clear out a bit of this. Actually, no, let's do this different. I got a different idea. Because I want to be able to see this guy work. So let's do... Let me get some glass. I can make it with chisel. Okay, let me get some more of this quite clear glass. And we'll build something with that. Where's my chisel? I don't have one. I do now. Oh, it's probably up in my tools up top. Oh well. The quite clear, that's what I want. Cool. Okay, so we're going to take our redstone emitter and we're going to put him down there. And he's just going to transmit a redstone signal in whatever direction. Well, he's going to do it in all directions, but I only need one. Then we're going to take our factory manager and put it there. And our item valve we're going to take, and we actually need to get below it here because, nope, I need to get lower. Nope, not you. There we go. I need to get the item valve pointed down. Not what I wanted. Oh, come on. Okay, I need to build up and around. There we go. Oh, come on. I wonder if I can turn this. I thought there was a way I could turn it. Because you see that little hole on it there, that's actually where the items come out. So I need it to be down, not sideways. I mean, I guess I could put it sideways. So I can put it here, because it kind of throws the items out. So I can put it like that, and then put that like that, and cap the rest of this off. Something like that. Cool. All right, now to program. Let's see, let's get a chest and some stuff. So we need some nether crystals. Just a handful. And redstone. And then I'm going to grab a transfer node with some world interaction upgrades. I made a recipe for those apparently. That's handy. There we go. That ought to do. Okay. Oh, and a filter. Which, I must have already planned ahead for this because I have a filter already set to do that. I don't remember planning ahead for this, but apparently I did. Well, you know, things happen. So we're going to put that guy there. We're going to throw this guy in here. And let's grab another chest. Just for good measure. Put it there. And then this one here. And put that stuff in. Okay. So I've got some programming to do. I won't bore you with all of the specifics of my programming. But, yeah, let me go ahead and get that done. And I'll come back when I have exciting things to show. Okay, and like that, we have a pretty simple instruction set. So, again, basic trigger, 1 second. We're just checking every second. We're looking in the wooden chest for anything. I don't care what we're getting. But then we're passing all of the inventory of that chest into this conditional. And this conditional is looking in there, and it's looking for exactly 1 nether quart, 1 charged Certus quartz, and 1 redstone. It needs all of those in order to work. If it's true, then it outputs those to the item valve. Yeah, the side doesn't matter. Empty blacklist. It's a good thing I encased this all in glass because my magnet, of course, tries to pick up stuff. So I've got that off. So if we go ahead and put this in, we'll notice right away that nothing's happening until I put in all 3 of those. The item valve spits them out. The world interaction upgrades down there picked them up. Just like that. Now the next one's going to be a little bit trickier because I'll basically do the same thing. I'll write recipes for the different crystals, and based on I'll have something drop items into this chest. This inventory manager will check for them. When it sees them, it'll spit them out and turn on the redstone emitter, which will then turn on and power these guys. Then what I need is basically I need a way to check that there's no items left floating in there, and I'll turn that off. I may start with a simple timer to begin with, because I know it takes roughly 1.5 minutes to be on the safe side, which I can do. I can just set up a timer that this runs for so long and then turns off. But eventually I would like to actually know that there's items in there or not. And the item valve can do that, but again, that's where it needs to be actually facing right into that block. It can't see down like that, but if it was pointed down into the water, it could. Problem is that we can't see it then. So, that's no fun. I want to be able to see it. So let me think about this for a minute and see what I can come up with. Okay, I think I've got it. I reorganized things a little bit because I realized I do need to have that item valve down here so that I can have it monitor the water block. So what I've got here, because I moved everything, my first one's gone. So this guy is just doing seeds right now. So it starts off with, grabs out of the chest, empty blacklist. It looks for a fluix seed, a fuzzy detection on a fluix seed, because these guys, as they grow, oh, that one's already grown up all the way. but as they grow, their metadata changes. So in this case, I want to be able to basically throw in partially grown ones if I have them for some reason. I'll throw them in, and it'll output them. So it takes them there, outputs them into the item valve, which spits them into the water. This guy then is doing a check every second. It's coming in and looking for any one of these seeds, and if it has any of these, and again it's doing a fuzzy detection. This one's important because as these guys grow, the information on them is going to change. So we're checking for any one of these. If it's true, we are taking our emitter and we are setting it to a fixed redstone signal of 15. If it's false, so meaning that there's nothing there, we are setting the redstone signal to 0. So we turn it on and we turn it off. So we can go ahead and cover all this back up, drop our seeds in. We'll just take 3 of them here, and you can see they went in, and a second later this guy turned on, which then flips our toggle bus over there, and we start draining power. Fantastic. And if I break these and steal those seeds, you'll see it turned off. I've got some seeds that are partially grown here. 12% on those. So we'll throw them back in. They'll get spit back out. Redstone signal turns back on. That is a pretty good little automated setup for this. I'll go back through and I'll add in the Fluix crystal recipe, and I'll add in the recipes for the other. Actually, this is all I need for the growing seeds. The nice thing I can do is I can create a command group, and I can actually move all of these commands into a command group and have them take up just a single block space or a single instruction space. So I'll probably end up doing that. So you'll see it. I'll have it where there's just basically 2 in here, one for the Fluix crystals, one for the pure seeds to grow into crystals. And with that, I think I need to wrap up the episode. So we got some Steve's Factory Manager going, which is going to make our lives much easier. And I will eventually, like I said, it's really going to be pretty easy to tie this into our auto crafting. Of course, we're going to have to add recipes to pulverize the Fluix crystals, mix them with sand to make the seeds, and then drop the seeds into this chest, at which point they will get pulled out and dumped into here. And actually, what I can do is I can just extend this guy over and have him dump right into that interface, so that they'll automatically go back into the AE system when they're made. And I can even move this and stick it behind here so that it's a little bit nicer. So I'll probably end up doing that. Anyway, this is Woolrig. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.